Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Jaakko Skantsi, and I'm a counselor for education and science in Abu Dhabi for the government of Finland. I work at the Embassy of Finland, but currently I'm actually here at the Embassy of Riyadh for Finland. Thank you for joining us to this event, and please feel free to let everyone know that this is being recorded and it will be available also later through RewirEd Talks. But I will talk more about it at the end of the session. Let's start with the official part. So we will have our ambassadors welcoming you shortly.
Dear guests and participants, my name is Marianne Nissilä and I am Ambassador of Finland to the United Arab Emirates. It gives me great pleasure to welcome you to this virtual event combining two themes very close to Finland and personally to me, quality education and equal opportunities. We will start the program with a highly interesting keynote speech by futurist Dr. Elina Hiltunen. Then we will proceed to a panel discussion around the themes of education and women, STEM and girls, and digitalization and education. During the panel discussion, we will showcase a Finnish innovation on science education for small children, as well as see some heartwarming greetings from Finnish students. We strongly believe, and this has also been shown by studies, that gender-equal societies are better not only for women and girls, but for everyone. Education is a fundamental human right and an investment in the future. Everyone has an equal right to equitable, inclusive, quality education. Millions of children, in particular girls, are still without access to any form of education, leaving them at risk of dropping out permanently. Unfortunately, the COVID pandemic seems to result in a setback to gender equality and the right to education. Girls are more likely not to return to school after the pandemic. This is a trend that should be reversed by our joint efforts. Finland is currently candidating for membership of the UN Human Rights Council for years 2022-2024. Finland works for a world where women and girls enjoy full human rights, everyone has access to quality education, and new technologies enhance quality and freedom. This event connects closely with these themes. Let me assure you that these themes are not only theory for us. We know from our history that they were the main factors behind the transformation of Finland from a poor agrarian country in less than 100 years to what it is today, the happiest nation in the world and a stable Nordic welfare state. This event is organized in collaboration with the Finnish Embassy in Riyadh. I would now like to give the floor to my colleague, Ambassador Antti Rytövuori. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Marianne. My name is Antti Rytövuori and I am the Ambassador of Finland for Saudi Arabia, Oman, Kuwait and Yemen. A warm welcome to this virtual event on my behalf as well. Marianne has presented the event and the wider context, and I will now go on into more detail in today's main themes. Finland aims to ensure that the new technologies and digitalization benefit all and help enhance equality. Reducing the digital divide helps to strengthen the right to participation, access to information, and other universal human rights. The pandemic has highlighted the need to further develop technologies to make our education systems more resilient, adaptive, and inclusive. Here, women in STEM can play a crucial role. At the same time, we have witnessed that technology cannot fully replace the human contact and build the kind of cohesion needed for learning together. Balancing the two is possible though, and technology and connectivity have a permanent role in the future of education. As we have noticed during the pandemic, having good digital skills, connectivity and access to digital tools and devices has been a prominent factor on how well education systems have fared. This virtual event is part of the RewirEd Talks, which is an initiative that offers everyone the opportunity to host and participate in meaningful conversations on education. The event will be available afterwards at the RewirEd website, so make sure to inform your colleagues and friends about this opportunity as well. We hope you enjoy this event.
Well, I would like to thank both the ambassadors, Ambassador Marianne and Ambassador Antti, for very interesting welcoming words. As the program advises, let me show you what we are going to do today briefly, and then the participants from online, you are welcome to post questions during this event, and me and the panelists will do our best to answer your questions if you have any during the videos. So please feel welcome to utilize that option as well. So today we are going to have a couple of kind of short insert videos. But before we actually start with that, we are going to have a short keynote by a futurist, Elina Hiltunen. And let's just go through the program shortly now. We already have had the welcoming words by Her Excellencies, Her Excellence Marianne Nissilä and His Excellence Antti Rytövuori, both the ambassadors of Finland in Abu Dhabi and in Riyadh. After the short keynote, we will have a panel discussion, mostly discussing the topics regarding education and women, science, technology, engineering, and maths and girls, as well as digitalization and education, kind of from the aspect of equal opportunities, or also perhaps is there a danger for growing inequities? And then there will be a short closing words as well. But without further ado, I will give the floor to Elina Hiltunen.
Hello, my name is Elina Hiltunen, and I am a futurist. My background is in chemical engineering, and I also have PhD in business administration. I have been listed as one of the top 50 female futurists in the world. So why it is so important that girls would get excited about STEM and there will be more women in STEM? I think that when we think about future, we have very big challenges in the future. We can think, for example, climate change and depletion of resources. We can think about loss of biodiversity, inequity, and so on. So for these, we have different means how to solve these problems. We can have legislation, we can have cooperation with different countries and companies and so on. But one of the things that helps us to solve this problem is technological solutions. And for these technological solutions, we would need all the most brilliant brains to innovate the new solutions to our big problems. If we think, for example, climate change, how could green technology, how could carbon capture and storage, and maybe geoengineering solve these kind of big problems? And for that, we would need also women to think about these innovations. Then the other thing that I'm quite worried when we think about the future is that we will have more power of algorithms that are making the decisions that are affecting to all of our lives. And already now we can see that there have been bias in certain algorithms, and there have been bias that, for example, female versus male are not treated equally by certain algorithms, for example, in recruiting situation for certain organizations. And for this, we really need to have women also to get interested in programming and algorithms and artificial intelligence and quantum computers, which will be the big things in the future. So how do we get girls to be more excited about STEM subjects? I think that we should start in the early phase of the girl's life. So one thing is to try to encourage even the little girls to get excited about STEM. And I think that you can actually do it in different ways. The little girls, at least in Finland, are very excited about princesses and so on. So why don't you just encourage them to be princesses that are excited about the science, technology, engineering, and mathematics? And actually, I'm not just having these ideas, I'm also doing these things to get the little princess girls to get excited about science. So I have been writing a book. This is the book, and it's called Princess Lion and the Secret of the Universe. And it's a children's book that I wrote with my friend, who is a very well-known space physicist, Professor Minna Palmroth. And we wrote this fairy tale together. And the idea is there that little princess girl and little lion girl are trying to find the secret for the universe. And then they are discussing with different kind of people, and a couple of those people are these crazy innovation technological inventors that are female. And this is one way to give the little girls this kind of examples that as being a girl, as being a woman, you can also get excited about STEM subjects. And how to get girls then more interested in STEM? I think that it's also very important for girls to have role models. If you think about, for example, the books of physics and so on, they have the male inventors that they are talking about. Well, we have female scientists too, and it's very important to talk about them too. And what I have been doing here in my Science for Girl project, I have, for example, interviewed women that are working in the technological field, in technological companies, energy companies, for example, who are working with programming and so on. And in these interviews, I'm asking these women about their career, and why they started to study technology. And one of the biggest reasons for that is usually that they want to make a better world. And I think that this is something that should be more emphasized, that when you are studying science, technology, mathematics, and engineering, you can be one person who is making a better world for all of us and for the next generations too.
Wow, that was very, very interesting, and I think this is a good place for us to start our panel discussion. And for that, I would like to ask the participants shortly to say a couple of words about themselves. Who are they, and what is it that they do? And let's start from Miss Mervi, please, Miss Mervi. couple of words about yourself. Why are you here and what do you do?
Thank you, Jaakko. My name is Mervi Palander. I'm currently in Finland. I'm a Edtech entrepreneur, and yes, I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you so much. And then we have Ajoke Adeyomoye. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Please, Ajoke, Miss Ajoke, could you briefly introduce yourself? There seems to be, maybe you are muted. Miss Ajoke, can you try to unmute yourself?
Hi, everyone. Can you hear me?
We can hear you. We can't see you. Do you have a video available?
I'm having a connection issue at the moment, which I'm trying to resolve. So
it's fine.
Yeah. So hi, everyone.
Go ahead.
Yeah. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon from Dubai. My name is Ajoke Adeyomoye. I'm a graduate of Middlesex University, Dubai, and I'm also a part of the quality assurance team, precisely the senior quality officer. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Miss Ajoke. And last but not least, we have Mr. Jussi-Pekka Järvinen, please.
Thank you, Jaakko. So hello, everyone. My name is Jussi-Pekka Järvinen. I come from Finland, where I work as a university teacher at the University of Turku. I work with both pre-service and in-service teachers with topics dealing with digital pedagogies.
Okay, thank you so much. And without further ado, let's move on to our topic. We are going to divide this discussion to short 5-minute discussions. And there will be a couple of short interesting kind of inserts. The first one from Dr. Jenni Vartiainen, who's a science education, doctor in science education, PhD in science education, a co-founder of Kide Science. And the second one is actually quite heartwarming greeting from Ressu Comprehensive School students, 1st and 5th grade students. They just finished their semester, but I was able to get their greetings before they left the school. So we're going to see that as well. But let's start with women and education in general. Now we can see you. Very nice to see you, Miss Ajoke. So why do you think giving girls the same equal opportunities in education is important? So when we talk about women and education, for example, on global scale, Ajoke, do you have anything that you would like to say about this? Do you have any comments on this?
Yes, I believe that educating women it plays a very important role in alleviating poverty. It also leads to increased useful and safe innovation. And by that, if we recall when the seatbelt was first invented, it was modeled solely on the physical attributes of a man, and so many women and children deaths were recorded at that time. Therefore, I believe educating women will give them a voice in the society to prevent occurrences like that. Thank you.
That's actually a really interesting point. And what about you, Miss Mervi?
Thank you. I think that girls' education has a very big impact in development and economic growth. And if girls are able to go to school and get an education, it means that they are more likely to participate in the formal labor market later on. They can also earn higher incomes, participate in decisions that are important for them, and also build a better futures for themselves and their families. And better educated women tend to be more informed about nutrition and healthcare. They have their children and marry at a later age, and their children are usually healthier. And I think that like overall, girls' education is one of the most cost-efficient strategy for promoting development and economic growth. Thank you.
That's quite a few things you brought up there, but definitely it's kind of like the keynote speaker there, Miss Elina, brought up the kind of interesting aspect that, you know, why wouldn't we use the full potential of humanity instead of just, let's say, half or 2/3 or whatever. I would like to ask all the panelists to, especially if you're not using a headphone, to mute yourself every time you are not speaking, because there seems to be a bit of a glitch on this program. So if you could kindly do that. Jussi-Pekka, what about you? Any takes on this kind of a more general approach to education and women? Any takes on that?
Thank you, Jaakko. Coming from such a, I guess, privileged background as university educated person from Finland, it seems like almost a hard question to sort of fathom. Of course we give girls the same opportunities in education, because that's a important part of our society. But then again, of course, the situation is not the same across the globe, and I feel that Joke and Mervi brought up really good points. From what I understand and from studies I've read about the subject, investing in this, like Ms. Mervi brought up, is one of the most cost-efficient ways of bringing development in developing countries. And of course, I guess increasing the opportunities that the girls have, giving them a better idea of what's out there, what can they do to, what can they do in the future? Because at least in my opinion, as a father of a young girl, I feel like girls, like everyone else, should be given a choice in what they want to do, given opportunities to choose what they want to specialize in, what are the things that interest them the most, and then they can pursue that as a career or a hobby or whatever. And I think the equal using the full potential of the people that we have on this earth is extremely important, because I am sure there are a lot of big inventions still waiting to be made, that will be made by girls coming from backgrounds that maybe 10-20 years back would have put them outside of education. By giving them the opportunity, maybe we'll see our someone solve the climate crisis for us, for example, from this background. That's what I'm hoping for, at least.
And actually, that brings us to our next kind of insert, or Dr. Jenni Vartiainen. I think she's going to bring up this subject a bit as well. And while we are looking at this and watching this insert, if you have any questions to the panelists or general questions, do utilize the Q&A possibility.
Hi, let's talk about girls. And more precisely, let's talk about girls and science. But first, I would like to introduce you to one girl who's very into science, myself. I'm Jenni. I'm a PhD in science education. I'm originally a chemistry and mathematics subject teacher. Nowadays, I'm a researcher and I study how to provide every child a possibility to get excited about science. I'm also a co-founder of Kid Science, which promotes the same agenda all over the world. First, let's look at why we are concerned about girls' interest in science. To solve complex and pressuring global problems, such as climate change or extinction of species, we need science. Because the problems are so tortuous, we need very different kind of science experts with different skills and excellent cooperation skills. But the problem is that girls feel that science is not for them. And why is that so? Take a moment and picture a scientist in your head. What kind is your mental image? According to research, it is common that when we ask someone to describe a scientist, the most general characterization is a white older male with eyeglasses and messy hair. This is a very narrow image of who is capable of doing science. I don't wonder that girls don't feel that they might have something in common with that scientist. We really need to widen the image of who can be a scientist to harness all possible expertise in the field of science, no matter what is the person's gender. All children born with a strong inner curiosity to explore and experiment with how the world functions. This can be seen as an endless curiosity and tendency to ask questions and engage in wondering. But if all children are inherently interested in science, what happens to girls when they grow up? Lack of interest in science among girls is a manifold issue. One corner to start unfolding it is to consider what kind of possibilities girls are offered to maintain their interest in science. Interest is tightly connected to identity. Identity starts constructing during the early years. Children shape the idea of themselves by identifying what they enjoy, what they are interested in, and what they are good at. It's hidden cultural praxis that we tend to offer boys more opportunities to engage in science and technology activities than girls. This is not due to children's choice, but how adults steer children's idea of what they should be interested in. When children are young, boys and girls are equally interested in scientific phenomena. The difference starts accumulating from the messages that surrounding culture sends. We should pay careful attention to how we talk about science to girls and make sure that we offer the same possibilities for both girls and boys. We should appreciate every child as an individual, not as a representation of gender. Meanwhile, we know that the world is full of different kinds of scientists with different looks, temperaments, genders, and ages. Girls should have more role models in public discussions to relate with. To support girls' interest in science, adults should allow young girls to build interest in science by letting them act with science-related activities. Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Jenny. I think Jenny brought up a couple of interesting points about role models and also how we perceive, for example, scientists still after, tens of years of educating the whole population in Finland. We still, even in Finland, we have a kind of a divide on what subjects students pick based partly on their gender. So I'm not saying we still haven't got work to do in Finland either. But when we talk about STEM and girls, for instance, Mervi, what do you see? What's your take on this? What's the most important part?
Yes, it was like Jenny said. I think that the lack of role models and peer approval seems to be the key reason why girls don't choose the STEM sector. And I think personally, I think that it's not only girls who are lacking of female models in STEM. Also, the teachers and parents are lacking those. So young women are not getting enough practical hands-on experience with STEM subjects, and maybe the parents should motivate girls more. So I think that it's very important that we publicly actually raise these role models and give more space them in our discussions, and also in social media. Thank you.
Really good points. Anything you would like to add on that, Ms. Achoke, please?
Yes, thank you very much, Jaco. I'd like to point out the fact that when we're talking about women and STEM, there is a need to find solutions to the barriers that are preventing girls from going into the STEM fields. For example, when it comes to teaching and learning STEM, I think the format is very, very important. And so teachers of this field should now begin to consider moving from the multiple choice type of questions, which is usually common in science and mathematics, and begin to emphasize more on open-ended assessment, thereby giving students, particularly the girls, the opportunity to, demonstrate their proficiency, basically in terms of what problems are writing or where they feel confident. Yeah, thank you.
That's actually an interesting point. And what about you Jussi-Pekka? What do you think? STEM, women and girls, it would be interesting to hear about this from the more general perspective, but also as a university teacher for future teachers who mostly in Finland still are female, as I believe.
Yes, that is the case in Finland. I think our student population seems to be divided somewhere around the 80-20 mark of females, males that we get in our teacher training. This is a very interesting question in my mind, and one that I think in Finland nowadays is approached quite well by the teachers in trying to provide all children already early in their primary education positive experiences of using and creating technologies, working in the STEM subjects. So sort of, once again, this thing that I was trying to bring up in my first talk, also giving students the opportunity to just discover the things that really interest them. So they, for example, if we talk about how my students at university look at teaching STEM subjects, they might design a project around teaching programming to second graders. And that might involve a girl from the second grade seeing that, oh, this programming is really interesting. And it seems to involve robots. So maybe I'll get interested in robotics and programming, and that becomes their future career, just from that, sparking that interest at an early age. And I think that's really important when we try to provide opportunities and places for girls and to become interested in these subjects. And I think role models that were mentioned is an important thing, but also just giving opportunities to discover what really interests you and what drives you as a student and as a human, and being able to foster that as they grow up.
It is like the old saying in Finland, you need to start early kind of with this opening the possibilities for all the students, both the female and male students, and opening kind of trying to make them understand in a sense that anything is possible for them. Any other comments on this, please?
Yes. Yeah, Jaco, I think one of the other things we need to look at is the formative ideas of who an engineer, a mathematician, or a scientist is. So usually people think, oh, this is something that men should do, and why should girls go there? And so in order to tackle this, I think we need to, foster this growth mindset in the mind of students, not just, male and female students, so that they know that it is by practice that they can improve their performance, and not just by some innate abilities that only men possess,
That is a good comment. And to be honest, even in countries that see themselves very equitable and kind of equal opportunities for female and men, there are still kind of, I think we all still have work to do. There are these kind of gaps and sort of invisible roofs that people talk about, glass roofs and so forth. I think it was a really interesting comment. Thank you so much, Achoke. I think we are going to talk briefly, because there's been the pandemic, there's been a huge development on education technology, and all of you have some kind of take on that as well. So we're going to talk about that briefly. I wanted to bring in another perspective to this. I know a lot of schools have been in an either hybrid model or even full online learning for quite an extended time. And so we have a greeting from 1st and 5th grader Finnish students from Helsinki region. We asked them a question: what makes a good school day for you? Let's watch that first, and then let's discuss briefly about education technology as well.
What makes a good school day for you?
That the teachers are nice, and every day is a fun day for me. And I love to go to school. The school lunch is very nice, and I like the friends that are with me, and the school playtime I like. Playing soccer and learn new things, and it's so fun that I have nice friends, nice teachers, and it's so fun to be in school. Every day I'm so excited to go in school every morning.
Yes.
When school ends.
What makes a good school day for you, Nico?
That we have PE, it's really fun, so we can just move around and have fun. That we learn new things, and no one is mean to each other. What makes a good school day for me is when we have good lunches I eat, and I like some of the school activities, and I like school.
Well, for me, what makes a good day at school is being able to every day meet with friends and socialize with them, and keep being physically healthy with physical education. And after every class, we have 50 minutes of free time to run around and play with friends.
A good school day for me is, for example, being able to learn in different ways, not just reading and writing and learning by sitting down. That we can, for example, like learn by making an art project and learning from there about history, for example.
A good school day for me is that you get nutritional and good lunch, and it's also free, and you can choose the proportions yourself and how much you want, and it's a balanced meal.
A good school day for me is having different kinds of subjects. At our school we have music and maths and history and textiles and woodwork, and I think those should be balanced out throughout the day.
What makes a good school day for me is knowing that there's always someone I can talk to if I feel down. Because we have the school psychologist, we have the school curator, we have the teachers who we can talk to, and then also knowing that we're just genuinely safe here because we also have the school nurse who we can visit most of the day in case if something happens.
Friends are very nice, and I really like the school and how it teaches you new things, and my favorite thing about it is math. So when we ever have activities or crafts, good lunches and good days.
What makes a good school day for you?
Studies make a good day for me.
That was quite heartwarming. Hopefully you got that smile on your face as well when you were watching it. I think there were. I just wanted to show you everyone this before we started to talk about education technology. So the students brought up interesting topics like nutritional and good lunch, and how important friends are, the playtime or recession, and physical education, but also things that people expect, like learning interesting new things, learning in different ways. And also I like the part where the one student explained how there's always someone he can talk to. And I'm sure we can address some of these things with the help of Edtech as well. But let's talk briefly more about the education technology. What do you think, now that we've seen this really strange year behind us, academic year, what is the kind of the role of Edtech? Definitely played a part, but how do you see Edtech in this kind of wider perspective in providing us in the crisis that we are facing? We were facing already before the pandemic started. We had most of the students, or a big portion of the students on global level, attending school, but there were thousands and thousands of children who didn't learn. So that we talk about learning crisis. So what's your take on that? What do you think? Can Edtech help there, or is the promise too much? Or what's your take there? Mervi, let's start with you because of your background.
Thank you, Jaakko. Yes, you listed already quite many very important things, but I think that Edtech has played a very, very big role during COVID-19. And also COVID-19 has shown that girls and young women actually they benefit a lot from digital education, but only if they have access on it. So I think that it's there are a lot of like technical issues which we don't gonna cover today, but overall I think that the Edtech has been there like around 20 years. Now we have more and more Edtech solutions globally, and COVID actually caused the situation where we very, very fast had to actually be able to apply these practices and softwares, and we had to actually use them. And in those places where Edtech was in use, there's a lot of like evidence showing that online learning had a very big impact on children's and especially girls' education. And above that, these educational opportunities, Edtech also had an effect on children's everyday life and women's employment opportunities, because of course technology is everywhere and we need competencies to use it. And I personally think that what we have seen now during this COVID pandemic time, that digital education is very scalable, it's affordable, and it's very inclusive when we have these personalized solutions. And quite many companies have already actually come up with a different kind of offline solution and national distribution models. So I think that it has had a big role, and also still has to preventing this slide in education and in literacy in math. So I think that it's yeah. Thank you.
I think really solid points from you. Jussi-Pekka, I would like to, well, if not grill, kind of ask this question from you. The ladies previously in the inserts and otherwise brought up the topic of why it should be important that there are women in STEM subjects. Why do you think it's important that we should have women developing EdTech as well. What's your take on that?
Really good question. Thank you. Thank you, Jaakko. I think the same applies to EdTech that applies to technologies in general. If we think that, or we sort of know that our society is becoming more and more digitalized, be it in very developed countries or still developing countries, which means that these products, these services, these algorithms, as Ms. Elina Hiltunen mentioned in her speech also, they are what are to a larger extent shaping the world around us every day. And the idea that we have a very small group of people creating all the services, or basically the digital reality around us for everyone, I think is quite alarming in a sense, because at no point do I think that the people currently creating these technologies are able to take into account all of the differences that we have in people around the world, and from different cultures, from different genders, from any other aspect affecting these people in their daily lives. So I think it is very important that we have everyone sort of working with these problems. And if I can sort of a little bit elaborate on what Mervi was also saying, is that I think EdTech has great potential to help teachers in these countries where we have problems that maybe the teachers are not very well educated or trained yet. And when used in the right way, EdTech doesn't replace the teacher, but it can supplement what the teacher is doing. It can help them with assessment. It can help them with through learning analytics, for example, to get better understanding of what their students are doing and how they are learning. So I think EdTech holds a lot of these, a lot of the keys to the challenges that we face in countries where the teachers are not yet, or teaching as a profession is not something that draws the highly educated people to the schools to teach, or there are not opportunities to train teachers to the extent that maybe would be beneficial for the students. EdTech can help in those, because I mean, training teachers is not something that happens if we decide we want to do this now. We're looking at 10, 15, 20 years from now that we start seeing the effects of this. So I think in the meanwhile, we should really utilize technology to help in these questions.
Again, I think especially interesting point about kind of making sure that everybody has, in a way, a voice or a possibility to kind of bring something into the development, not just a narrow group of people who are sometimes guessworking what is needed and what should be taken into account. Ms. Ajoke, a couple of, I give you the closing comments on this topic. What's your take on the EdTech and possibly girls and women, and what kind of role can it play?
I quite agree with Mervi and Juicy about EdTech, and I'd say that prior to COVID, there has been a lot of digital tools that has been supporting education. Just that I think their use weren't as popular as since COVID started. So COVID kind of forced us and opened our eyes more to acknowledging those digital tools and also making use of them. And also in areas, poor communities, for example, where they don't have access, or maybe when they don't have quality teachers or access to all of these tools. I think one way to actually help those communities is by supporting the intergovernmental organization programs that are directed towards this community, so that they are able to fund these communities by providing them with some smart devices to both teachers and students, so that teachers can avail the digital tools to further equip themselves in order to be able to deliver their task effectively, both in the classrooms and in the society at large. So I think EdTech is getting there in terms of making people aware that there are so many things, so many online tools that they could use to further improve themselves as teachers, and as students. Yeah, thank you.
Great point, and also the point about the importance of connectivity and seeing so that these tools can actually be utilized the way Jussi-Pekka mentioned there earlier. It doesn't help if we can't utilize them for those students and those populations who need it the most. So really, really, really good point. At this point, I would like to first of all thank all three of you. It's been a really interesting talk. It would have been really nice to continue even further. But I'm sure we get to discuss also face-to-face these things. I'm hoping with all of you, Ms. Achoke, maybe with you in Dubai, and Jussi-Pekka will meet in Turku region, and Mervi definitely will meet up either here or in Finland. But those of you who are watching this, I think you can all feel free to reach out to any of us if you have questions or if something raised some interest that you would like to discuss further, whether there would be possibilities for collaboration or whatever. I'm at least happy to, you know, try to see what kind of possibilities there are in the future for education in general, but also in the edtech sector and so forth. At this point, I would like to thank all of the participants, and also remind them that this event will be available online. And if we want to address these UN Sustainable Development Goals, not just the SDG 4, the key is to have high-level education, research, and development available, and kind of people participating there should be diverse, as we discussed. This event will be, as I said, available as a recording at RewirEd Talks. And the RewirEd Talks is an initiative that offers everyone the opportunity to host and participate in a meaningful conversation on education. RewirEd Talks, because education is everyone's business. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.